Hello, my name is Benjamin Hart. I'm an American attorney and the managing director of Integrity Legal here in Bangkok, Thailand. As the title of this video suggests, we're discussing so-called vaccine passports for Thailand. And when we're talking about vaccine passports, it really is kind of a euphemism, and I've been using it a lot, also sort of interchangeably with immunity passports. It's kind of a term that's come up the last year. It's sort of a colloquialism for basically documentation proving that one is vaccinated in order to enter a given country. And people often forget, and in the last 20-odd years, a lot of documentation regarding vaccination has not been required for a lot of different types of travel. But if you go back, a decade even before 20 years ago, yeah, there was a lot of documentation oftentimes that was required when entering different countries with respect to being able to prove health certification. Now, whether or not COVID warrants, that level of documentation is, in my opinion, somewhat debatable. But long story short, it's not an unprecedented or unheard of thing, having to show documentation with respect to inoculations when traveling across international borders. It at one time is actually fairly frequent. That stated, for the last 20 years or so, it really, especially out here in Southeast Asia, Thailand specifically, it wasn't really a major concern. A recent article from, and bearing that in mind, we're gonna quote and kind of analyze this situation. A recent article from the Bangkok Post, it's bangkokpost.com. Article is titled "TAT Wants Vaccine Passport Policy." Quoting directly, Thailand should have a clear-cut path on a vaccine passport by June if plans to reopen the international market by the fourth quarter are kept, according to the Tourism Authority of Thailand, TAT. Quoting further, Siripakon Che Wasamut, TAT Deputy Governor, said the government policy would have a tremendous effect towards international market plans, particularly on the long-haul market, which is progressing rapidly in terms of mass vaccination programs. And it should be noted he is the TAT governor with portfolio over Europe, Africa, the Middle East, and the Americas. Quoting further, the opinions of overseas agents in recent surveys in key markets showed tourists are ready to be inoculated or participate within a vaccine passport policy. Now, I'd love to see the statistics on that and the polling and see who they're talking to, how many people they're talking to. One thing that has been a little bit upsetting for me when researching a lot of these issues has been seeing where they're quoting surveys, and then you'll come to find out, the survey surveyed like 50 people. And I'm not saying that's what's happened here. I didn't dig much further than just the main sort of superficial part of this article. But long story short, yeah, there's a lot of talk about the notions of documentation pertaining to vaccinations. Exactly how this is going to play out remains to be seen. But as I stated earlier, inoculation documentation in the context of crossing of international borders, it's not unheard of. It's certainly not unprecedented. So I don't think it's too far outside the realm of possibility to presume that it could happen, especially with respect to travel into Thailand.